Today, we're talking about something we all strive for but rarely get just right: routines. Whether it's a morning ritual to set the tone for the day or a nighttime wind down to actually get some decent sleep, routines can be a game changer. But let's be real, ours are far from perfect.
Exactly. We're not here to preach some unattainable ultra-disciplined routine that requires waking up at 4 a.m., running 5 miles, and making a green smoothie before the kids are even awake. My morning routine is structured around meditation, which helps me feel grounded before the chaos kicks in.
And for me, sleep has become a non-negotiable. I used to burn the candle at both ends, but prioritizing rest has completely changed how I feel and function, especially as a mother.
So in this episode, we're breaking down the routines that actually work for us, why they matter, and how you can build a routine that fits your life without the pressure of perfection. Let's get into it.
Welcome to Share the Wealth.
I'm Ziba.
And I'm Sarah.
We're two friends who just happen to live across the street from each other and share a deep passion for entrepreneurship and wellness. After meeting as neighbors, we quickly bonded over our similar journeys, starting out in Fortune 500 companies before diving headfirst into the world of entrepreneurship and opening fitness studios.
Ziba has also built a thriving social media empire where she inspires thousands through her insights on wellness and style. Together, we bring unique perspectives combining years of experience in business, fitness, and personal growth.
Join us and our incredible guests as we explore the realities of being ambitious women navigating business, motherhood, wellness, and the many twists and turns life throws our way.
Our mission is to inspire you with real stories and practical takeaways, helping you to stay adaptable, resilient, and motivated in an ever-changing world. So let's start sharing. Hello and
good morning.
Welcome. Good morning. Well, I think it's actually
afternoon.
It's noon, but
it is no secret that I am not a morning person. I am notorious for being a night owl, and so much so that even my kids have rewired and reprogrammed themselves to be able to adopt to my lifestyle because I'm just not a morning person. So I know that you are a little bit more than I am.
Yeah, I think it's funny because we're talking morning routines, nighttime routines. And where we landed was that maybe you have a little bit better of a morning routine because you
set yourself up.
You've accommodated or compensated for being a night owl by doing what you have to do in your morning to thrive the best you can. I think I am by nature a night owl too, and I still have nights where I'm up late and I'm just accepting it. But for whatever reason, over the past year, I've really focused on prioritizing my sleep. So that changes everything, because if you're going to prioritize your sleep, you don't have time to do stuff at night. And that is just the cold hard truth. So I've gotten more into these nighttime guardrails, I would say, rather than a routine. I've got a time in mind that I need to be in bed, so I kind of back out from there.
I can't wait to hear how you shifted yourself, because I have not been able to do that.
It's really, really hard, especially for someone who works for themselves and has their hands in a lot of different things. And also it's really hard for parents.
Yeah.
So we can talk about how that affects morning, nighttime, all the time.
You know, when you just said that, it just brought to mind like also the component of self-regulation, any kind of self-regulation problems, which I'm not diagnosed with ADD, but I have always felt that I have it. It is difficult to tell yourself, okay, time to go to bed.
Yeah.
But of course you have to get up in the morning, so there's no option.
Especially when we just did a whole episode on the magic of social media and all the wonderful things you can do on there to grow your business and be creative. And you've got this in your pocket, and then nighttime comes and you're just sometimes sucked in. So yeah, there's a lot of challenges. There's a lot of distractions, and I get why it's hard to go to bed at a decent hour. But if you aren't, what can you do in the morning, or what helps you hit the ground despite not having the nighttime routine buttoned up yet?
Yeah, it's ironic I'm doing the morning routine section because I'm not a morning person, but I feel like it really does help anchor me and ground me for the day, especially because usually I am lacking sleep and I tend to have really nobody over me as a business owner, having a really hard schedule. So it's easy for me to be unproductive if I don't set up my day well. Maybe it was like 2 years ago where I thought to myself, I've always wanted to meditate. I have never been able to. And you and I were at the session with the Moon and Stone ladies where we meditated as a group.
Yes.
And that was transformative for me because they brought out crystal bowls. We were in a part of a group, let's call it crystal party. And so part of the crystal party, we had a moment where we all meditated as a group. And so they started using crystal bowls, and it was the first time I did not have my thoughts competing with me.
Were those the sound bowls?
Yes. The sound bath.
I'm familiar with that from yoga. I do that at the end of class.
Exactly. But I hadn't been in yoga class for a long time. I had never really used that in my practice. And I remember listening to apps like Calm and different things. And they would work for a while, but it just wasn't enough to keep me going. And also there's sometimes when in meditation, you just want to not have somebody's voice in your head. You just kind of want to literally zone out and not be listening to somebody. So I feel like there was that kind of click for me. I thought, wow, I didn't think of anything. Anytime I did the little clings and the boom, like it would just push the thoughts out. January 2023, I thought, okay, this is my New Year's resolution. It made sense. Wellness, something, a habit I can pick up and try one more time, because I had always had that be my intention for the year and I always failed. And I found a couple of playlists on Spotify that use crystal bowls, and I thought, let's give it a try. 2 years later, it's still part of my morning routine. But
for some reason, I totally thought you were going to say you got crystal bowls and you were doing sound baths yourself.
I would if I was doing it for somebody else.
I was going to say, you can't really do that and meditate, right?
I think you probably can, but for me, I need to be still, because I find a lot of meditation, the components of meditation benefits in my dance practice. I feel like I really escape and I'm not thinking about anything.
The moving meditation.
So I need to sit down and I thought, no, this is not right for me. I'll just listen. They can be pretty effective, especially if you put on some earbuds and you feel like they're actually in there. But yeah, so that is a big part of the morning routine.
Where do you do it? In your bedroom, or do you get up and go?
Yeah, I usually wake up between 7 and 7:30, right before the kids need to be up. Most of the time, I cannot do my morning routine before they get out the door for school. So in an ideal world, if I went to bed earlier, and if we listen to your nighttime routine, maybe that'll happen. But in an ideal world, I would complete my morning routine before they get up. They get off to school, and I have already had half a cup of coffee by then, so I'm not going to fall asleep, because that was the other kind of problem of meditation, is that I would get so relaxed that sometimes I would go back to sleep.
It matters where you are. Do you go back to bed to meditate, or just get comfortable?
No. The best morning is I wake up before the kids, make my coffee, get them out the door, walk the dog. So now I have caffeine and I have fresh air and I move my body. And then I go into what I call our music room, which just has a piano, nice and airy, lots of natural light. I do a daily devotional, a prayer book that's kind of like a Bible guide, that you have a nice little verse, and then there's a few passages from the Bible. I read the Bible given the verse of the day, and that is something that is just so important to me, my faith, and just anchoring, starting out the day just with prayer, really.
Makes sense.
And just having that conversation, even before I start to that whole meditation process, I try to engage with my faith first and just have some time to reflect, because I think that a lot of times the first thing to go are these things that are really spiritual anchors and keep you strong. I have the most resilience when I make time to pray, sit still and read the Bible. Whatever your faith might be, I can't recommend enough having a moment with something that inspires you. After I do that, I would say it's like 15 minutes. Then I will turn on my meditation playlist and meditate for 10 to 15 minutes. Sometimes I sit on my couch, sometimes on the floor on a pillow, and I just close my eyes. I don't listen to anything, just that crystal bowl. It's grounding, and I feel like I've gotten a lot of answers when I'm doing that. Like I come out of it and I think, okay, like I know the answer now of whatever big problem it might be, or something that's like really the question that keeps entering your mind sometimes gets answered. Today, for example, I had a horrible meditation. I kept stopping, looking at the time, and felt frustrated. I just wanted to quit. I didn't want to listen to the crystal bowls. In closing my eyes, I started thinking of my to-do list. It just was not going well. And you also have to kind of honor yourself and say, okay, I'm going to get through this kicking and screaming, but I'm going to get through it. And it's not perfect. I'm not always going to transcend.
That is really important for everyone to understand. It's not going to be perfect every time.
Yeah.
You're still going to have moments of setbacks or not super productive sessions where something doesn't come to you. I think it was Glennon Doyle in her book,
Untamed?
Yeah. When you said that sometimes when you're meditating, you find the answer to something that you've been wondering about. And Glennon Doyle in her book always touts getting to, whether through meditation or just living and listening to yourself, but really being able to tune into your inner knowing and that inner voice, and it always knows what to do, but you'd have to tap into it, and it's sometimes impossible. So it sounds like meditation has been a way to do that, which is amazing.
I remember the first 2 weeks I started it, literally 2 years ago. I remember sitting down, holding my hands so unbalanced and just not in tune with sitting still. One of my hands felt 4 times bigger than the other one. And my heart was racing just sitting down and closing my eyes. I felt, wow, I need this. I could tell just sitting in my body how awkward it felt. And over time, I started to feel like my hands are becoming the same size. It was so trippy. I thought I was so unbalanced and overwhelmed by my thinking. It was difficult, and that's when you really need it. If you feel like you don't have time to meditate, then you're the person that needs it the most. And that was always my excuse. I felt like, okay, I do meditate. I exercise and I dance and I escape and I have ways of being present. My family, haha, I laugh with them. I'm not on my phone, but no, you have to sit with yourself for a little bit and just even feeling how your body feels. If you're the person that tries meditation in the morning and that has a hard time staying awake, having that, if not caffeine, if you're anti-caffeine, which I can't relate, but if you are, then going outside for a quick walk and then coming back in just to get the sunshine, fresh air is really helpful in making that meditation more productive.
That's great advice. Many years ago, living in Manhattan, I started going to a free meditation class weekly. The recommendation of a friend. I would fall asleep, but I saw the benefits. And I remember when someone asked me what were the benefits for me, I remember saying that I just felt like it made my fuse longer. And this is before kids. So who knows what I was losing my fuse over. It's
Right.
kind of funny.
So the retrospect, wait, what? I had problems?
I guess work related or mood related. Do you feel like it gives you that clarity, levity, and peace throughout the day?
Not so much,
No.
honestly. Used to do a lot of yoga regularly when I was younger and going to grad school. And I remember them really touting sitting in uncomfortable situations and breathing through it. I know that stuff, but I don't feel like it makes my fuse longer or makes me feel more even, because I just don't run that way. I do feel I'm able to have a moment to think where I tend to be very action oriented and more energetic and kind of move throughout my day. I don't usually sit, which is a blessing. I do a lot of content, run around with the kids, or, I'm teaching fitness. And so I'm not sitting very still. And so action is the enemy of thought. And I don't have those moments of stillness. I wish the answer was yes. I'm less so, but I've been doing now for 2 years, so I don't know.
Right.
I might be a lot more pleasant.
Right. That's so interesting. So then if you're doing this and it's a weekend or your husband's around, are people interrupting you, or they just know at this point?
Yeah, they just
your time?
know.
Okay.
And it's nice to have that respect, and they leave me alone. I struggle a bit when I travel because I feel like I'm usually kind of chasing my tail a little bit, with schedules, but I do try to have a component of it so that I'm able to just not lose it completely. That's been powerful. And also I really love coffee, and coffee is probably the only reason I wake up. It's an important part of my morning routine. I do intermittent fasting. Not a breakfast person. I used to be the biggest breakfast person in the world. Like I would, before my eyes open, like I was like thinking about my breakfast. And I think what changed was kids, honestly. Like I feel like because, and now they're so much more self-sufficient, but when they were babies and toddlers, I stopped enjoying breakfast because I couldn't eat it.
Go figure.
I couldn't. And so
they're eating it, or you just can't sit and eat.
Trying to get out for the day, get them ready, get all their things. And, living up north, there's like 17 layers and all the things. And so before I knew it, I was, oh my gosh, I'm just having coffee until mid-morning and I feel great. I have energy. And then the other crazy thing that happened for me was that I feel like I have been my leanest since I started at intermittent fasting. It's either for you or it's not.
It's not for everybody.
No, for some people, their metabolism doesn't work that way. They have to eat when they wake up.
I would love another episode about this.
Yes, we
fully,
should.
And I know we've talked about it a lot. But that's really important piece of your morning routine. It just became natural for you. You'd have your coffee. You wouldn't have breakfast. It's not like, oh my gosh, I'm fasting. It's what worked for you. And then retrospectively, were you kind of like, wait a second, I'm fasting?
Yeah. And then I thought, wow, I feel so much better. My inflammation is down. Things are fitting better. And it just started working for me. I never thought it would, but now it's just how I operate. I don't think it'll always work. Our bodies are so fluid. Maybe when I go through menopause, it might not be right for me. Who knows? But now it's working really well.
Yeah, that's awesome. So then it's really no breakfast, right? Because by the time you eat, it's brunch.
Yeah, right. So I'll either have eggs and bacon or a perfect bar. I try to eat as much protein as I can, but I do love my carbs too. Having protein in that first meal is really important.
Not to beat a dead horse because you've said it works for you and you feel great, but do you have any insight or experience, or have you heard of this idea? It's hard to keep track of everything that works for everybody, but having coffee first thing in the morning spikes your cortisol. Have you heard this? Does that mean anything to you?
I have had moments in my life where my cortisol has been out of control, and I was very lucky to get tested for adrenal fatigue. Like I think it was 2012, and I was through the roof, So
it's something you've already got a handle on.
Yeah, so I know how it feels now. When I abuse coffee, like at 3 p.m., I'm going to be angry. I'm going to I noticed a little bit more jelly in the belly. Like I noticed how my body composition feels because my cortisol levels are out of control. If I'm able to keep it to the morning, 2 cups, I love the way it tastes. I could drink it all day, but I start to feel that cortisol feeling. It's just being in tune with your body. If you might be experiencing that and you would have stubborn fat, you can't quite seem to get rid of the bloat. You're eating right, but it's not coming off, or you're constantly craving a candy bar at 2 or 3 p.m. Can't wake up, can't go to sleep. It's usually your adrenals are out of control. Getting tested and the right supplements is helpful, but more than supplements, it's lifestyle, of course. Yeah. Making all the changes, taking walks, gratitude, meditation, eating right, all the boring stuff that's so hard for all of us. But I think there is some truth to it. A lot of people are more sensitive to it as well. The caffeine. I have some friends that they can have half a cup and then they're all jittery and they can't, even breakfast eaters. It's like, there's other people with high tolerance.
Yeah. I love that you have your coffee and this works for you before you meditate. If a coffee works for you, I can see how that would. You just light up your brain a little bit more and allow moments of clarity. Whereas if you're groggy, you're not firing on all cylinders. So I like the idea of coffee first and a walk. If you're like us and love how chic and powerful a heel makes you feel, but you also need the comfort of your sneakers, you need to try Inez. We are so excited to be able to offer a 15% discount to our listeners. Designed by a woman, handcrafted and ethically made in Spain, Inez specializes in heels and often dresses up our most basic outfits while not stopping our powerful walk. Most importantly, you will not believe how comfortable and beautiful these shoes are. Find your favorite new pair of shoes at Inez.com, INEZ.com. Use the code WEALTH, WELLTH 15 to get 15% off your order.
One of my friends started doing that and I asked him, how can you not fall asleep? He gave me that hack, a cup of coffee and a walk. I come back and I'm able to do it. Otherwise, can't do it. And I'm not like the person that naturally goes walking outside, but after getting a dog, it all kind of happened together. Like got a dog, had to do that. So it's great.
Perfect time to introduce a new routine.
Once I'm caffeinated and zenned out, I pay attention to my skincare routine. Prevention is the best thing for me. I've always taken good care of my skin, and that's kind of the one big anchor that I have at night is my nighttime skincare routine. Other than that, it's a free-for-all. But, I do try to do exfoliation and the dry brushing. Yeah.
Are you doing this before you work out, if you work out early that day?
Oh, good question. Sometimes I teach fitness in the morning, so I'll quickly wash my face and teach and do everything after.
Okay, that's what I thought.
But if not, then I'll just go for it full-fledged.
Who do you look to, or who has given you advice on your skincare routine?
My mom has always been a big inspiration. She's always taken meticulous care of her skin. Even when we were little, she would tell us about creams and cleaning your face. Recently, I've been really into the Arcana line. I feel like it hydrates my skin really well at this stage in my life, and just it's insane the results that I've seen without any like.
What's their claim? Like, what is it? Hydration? Is it natural?
Natural, yeah. So all the ingredients are in all the fragrances that you smell. They smell beautifully. They don't. It's not synthetic. It's all because if it smells like a cranberry, it's because there is cranberries in there.
Are you buying this online?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, locally and online. And yeah, especially my best tip for skincare is just their eye brightening serum or their eye cream. My eyes are definitely my problem area, and I feel like they've turned back the clock maybe 5 years.
Wow.
Try if your eyelids are falling down. Arcana, I do.
Okay.
We'll link it.
Yeah, wow. That's a great plug.
Yeah.
Okay, so skincare routine's done. Maybe you've worked out. Maybe you haven't. One comes before the other, depending on the day. And the morning's over.
Yeah, the
Where
morning's
are we?
over. Still, it's 2 p.m. That's morning routine.
Time does fly. It sounds like meditation is the pillar. Isn't it crazy to think that 2 years ago you weren't doing that?
It is crazy to think that.
I'm going to start. I'm doing it.
Yeah, get this. If you struggle with it, some people love being spoken to, and it worked for me at points, but then I get sick of the voice.
I love the idea of whether it's a sound bath or some other trancy.
We can sound bath each other.
Oh my gosh. Next episode. It's just going to be sound baths. Okay, great. All right. We covered the morning. We realized that I have more of a nighttime routine. I definitely have a skincare routine I do in the morning, but it mimics my nighttime, so it's nothing specific to the morning. The one thing I will say about my morning, I don't wash my face with soap. I let everything I will go through and, high level at night, it's still on there. If I'm not working out or, I haven't sweat and something weird's happened through the night, I'll just splash some water on my face.
Something weird has happened through the night.
You never.
You got thrown up on.
It's not abnormal for something weird to happen, like snot, someone else's snot on me, or just a sweaty night. I'll splash cold water on my face and just get not to be gross, crust, eye crust off, and reapply my morning stuff. I haven't gone deep into that topic. It was something that I felt like I read once and I started doing, and then more recently when I got a facial, she was like, yeah, just you could skip the cleanser in the morning. If you think about it, you're like, right, you've just been laying there, ideally. So,
I think you must have drier skin. Normal?
Yes.
Normal to dry?
Normal. Exactly. Right. I'm not super oily.
I'm an oil well. I would break out. I'm probably shining like crazy right now. I'm
You're
just
not.
constantly shining.
Sparkle.
I sparkle.
For nighttime for me, about a year ago, I started working with a holistic wellness coach. A lot changed for me, and I had more energy. One part of those inputs, maybe we could do another episode with Chelsea, who I worked with. It targets hormones, and it was about when I was eating and what I was eating, right? Low inflammatory foods and giving my body time to properly digest, not shoving stuff in my mouth all the time, which happens with kids because you're eating their scraps or you're just trying to catch up. Part of what I learned in working with that holistic coach, the importance of prioritizing sleep, which is hard to do. By the time my kids go to bed kind of early, they're asleep by 8:30 for sure.
Yeah.
And I still am like, great, it's 8:30. I should be in bed by 9.
Wow.
9:30. Like, that just sounds crazy.
It does.
It sounds crazy. How do you get anything done? That's where this element, doom scrolling or revenge scrolling, it could be revenge whatever, revenge watching TV, revenge cleaning. A lot of the time it does involve the phone, because you're like, I spent all day working, or I just spent all day doing things for other people, and now I finally have time for myself, and this is what I want to do. I feel that almost every single night, but that will just take me down a rabbit hole. And what I found is that if I can shut it off, if there's not something that's due, if I've set myself up to do this, and that's part of what prioritizing sleep means, getting stuff done in a different way throughout the day so you can go to bed early, I have more energy the next day to do things you think you're missing out on.
Yeah.
By going to sleep early.
Instead of dragging through the day, feeling like you didn't get enough accomplished, trying to accomplish everything last minute, then revenge scrolling, it's a vicious cycle.
If you get enough sleep, you have more energy and clarity the next day, and you can catch up. I mean, ideally, you're not having to catch up, but I really am so much more productive. I am kinder. I have more clarity if I get enough sleep. And I'm still trying to figure out what enough is for me. I think a solid 8 hours definitely feels good for my body. I've been using the Oura Ring for about a month. So that's a whole nother just side of science that I'm still learning, but it teaches you a lot, and the ring is still learning my patterns. It's been a real accountability partner, this little piece of gold on my finger, because even nights where the kids are up or something, and we've had a lot of illness this winter, I get up and do it happily in the night when someone's sick. I go in their bed.
Musical beds.
I'm helping and I'm tending to their needs in the middle of the night. Before the Oura Ring, I might have been able to kind of lie to myself and say, oh, I probably got like 5 hours of sleep, trying not to look at your phone. Most recently, an example is that like I had ended up getting, when I looked, it was 2 hours of sleep that night. So that affects what you can do the next day. I've allowed myself to go easier on my task list, or, take a nap if, God willing, that would be an option during the day. So yeah, the Oura Ring has definitely helped on this journey of like, I feel like someone's watching, go to bed.
Someone's watching, Santa.
Yeah, they're watching.
List.
And there's so many stats about your sleep. Like, it's not just how many hours you slept. It's like, how much time were you in REM, and so many other things that I've never even heard of. What was my heart rate? I've discovered I have difficulty with latency, so how long it takes me to fall asleep. It's a solid 30 minutes for me, and I guess it should be under 20. I didn't realize I had trouble falling asleep. Probably because I'm not limiting phone or screen time.
Did your holistic coach say anything about napping?
No, not that I can remember. My husband's a big napper and swears by the 15-minute power nap. I'm not a great napper. I feel groggy when I wake up. It takes me a long time to fall asleep. Yeah. So I think
you're chasing your tail with sleeping.
Then it's not enough time,
No.
or something. So not a great napper. And then also, I just want to be getting stuff done, which is part of the problem, and which is why I want to sleep. I think it's a very like broad, but just like prioritizing sleep and learning, because I'm still learning. So I think I'm in bed at a really early hour. Like last night I was in bed at 11, and that was really late. I felt it this morning. I'm also a creative person, and the creativity does come at night. Some nights recently, things were flowing, and I stayed up late. And I think for a long time, that's what was happening, and you could just get
rockstar living.
Yeah, you get energized by it. And I'm like, wait, so then when does the creativity come now? I haven't figured that out. I don't really get bursts of it, I don't think. I think that nothing replaces what happens at night for some people.
Tell us about your transformation from being a night owl like me to just having those guardrails.
I mentioned revenge scrolling or revenge watching. I realized that as good as that feels, there are periods of time where my husband and I are watching a show together, so we end up staying up late, and that's nice. Like, you do need that time with your spouse. I think it is really helpful to have a partner that's on a similar schedule, in terms of sleep because, you know, it's obvious. Like if they're in bed with you and they're scrolling on their phone or they want to watch something, that's going to throw you off. But the less obvious stuff is like I still like don't want to go to bed alone, you know, and or I'll hear him downstairs, you know, doing something and I want to hang out and get into that revenge time.
Yeah.
So I think
Have you seen that meme on Instagram where the wife is coming into bed and the husband's like waking up? No. It's just like, I feel seen because my husband's the opposite. He's a morning person. He loves going to bed super early, like 10. I'm just getting started.
if you try to make the transition,
It'll be easy.
He'll be a great ally. He'll be great for him that he could have a partner.
Yeah, sometimes he'll be like, I'm awake for hours before you're awake.
Yeah.
It's like, well, you're asleep for hours, you know, before I go to bed.
It is nice to have time at night. It depends on the person. Like you talked about fasting. I don't believe everybody needs the same amount of sleep. I did go through the exercise of seeing what it felt like when I had that sleep. I knew I was more likable and more patient. And
what are some of the
energized.
tools other than trying to limit your revenge scrolling and that kind of thing that you found helpful?
Yep. I love to take a shower at night. And it was like something I had to allow myself to do because I felt like if I didn't work out or I wasn't sweaty, I would just wash my face. But then I incorporated taking a shower at night into my routine. I love that, a super hot shower. So that was something that's like special for me, and especially with having kids, because if I try that during when they're awake, someone will be barging in, or maybe it's not possible because I can't watch them at the same, you know, if I'm single solo parenting.
When you have young kids the way you do, it's like you're just trying to get in and out in a minute and a half. Can't miss a thing. Somebody's going to fall down the stairs, you know, somebody's going to.
Exactly. So sometimes I'll put them, if it's like getting kind of late and I'm like, well, I don't want to take my shower at 8:30 or 9. I put the TV on for them in my room while I do it. Prior to that, I stop having caffeine. I don't have caffeine 12 or later. That was something different. I would drink coffee all day. And I haven't seen, there's like a few instances where I had a late caffeine and I was like, I'm up. But I never know if that's like a placebo effect, you know? So I just was like, let me just stop. I'm not going to have it after 12.
Yeah.
So that's one thing earlier in the day that I do. I try to eat on the earlier side so that my body's done digesting. I'm not perfect with that either, but there's really no like late snacking or anything. I try to eat dinner at a decent time, and kids help with that. By 6.
What?
Yeah.
I have everything 3 hours after you.
Yeah, I know. I don't have the facts that this works for me, but it's been in my routine. I feed the kids early because they get feral. They're hungry, so then I end up eating.
Right.
You know, could probably have some room for improvement in terms of sitting down as a family and eating. Usually the kids are eating something, ideally the same thing, but sometimes it's leftovers and we're slopping together as much protein as possible. Post shower, I have my skincare routine, and there is one item that I just absolutely love, and it's a body stone. Have you used a body stone? It looks like a bar of soap, but it's lotion. So it's by Kate McLeod. Okay. We carry it at the studio. Thankfully, my partner Amanda introduced me to it. After the shower, I used the body stone all over instead of pumping lotion. Yeah. Because I didn't really have a good lotioning routine. It was like whatever I had on hand. And that has just been the ritual because it also comes in this cloth that it's wrapped in, and it's kept in this wood box.
Oh.
So it's just a nice
ceremonial.
Yes. Relaxing, higher end product for my whole body.
So does it come out of the rock and then you're rubbing the rock on you?
It's just
so
a
it's
rock.
kind of like massage.
There's no rock. It's a soap. As you use it, it gets smaller.
Oh, okay.
And it leaves kind of like an oil on
so
you.
there's also therapeutic, like muscle relaxation.
I think so.
Yeah.
As much as I can get on myself. So that is like a full body routine that's different for me because usually everything's focused on the face. Then I'll do my hyaluronic acid. I'm kind of all over the place with products right now, but in general, hyaluronic acid, a vitamin C, a retinol, a tretinoin prescribed, and then a moisturizer and an eye cream. So my husband has this joke, it's like, have you done your routine yet? It's not that long.
Nick says the same thing.
It's just a few things. And sometimes I'm like, yeah, compared to you, because he doesn't do anything except brush his teeth. You have to have the routine or you wouldn't do it. If I have makeup on, I'm washing that off every single night. I'm pretty proud of that. It always.
That's my one nighttime anchor, taking off the makeup. I can be brokenhearted, drunk, anything. Yeah. And I will still get
the makeup off the same way. So then it's flossing and brushing.
Do you have any special oral care?
Nothing special. I have an electric
There's like
toothbrush.
oiling and
No,
water
I
flossing.
used to do oil
and-
pulling.
You did?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Back in my, yoga days.
Yeah.
That was in the morning. Did feel like it kept me healthy. Should pick that up again.
It's probably easier.
In the morning. Yeah. But then it's like, I would do it with coconut oil and you can't talk. So I would have
For
to
how
do it when.
long?
Oh, I think you're supposed to do it for at least 5 minutes. Swishing stuff around in your mouth. I can imagine the kids going buck wild and me.
Waking up at 5 in the morning to do your oil pulling.
I feel like you could do that while you're meditating.
Probably.
You're just swishing. But it's just flossing and
Can
brushing.
be a new brand of
Oh my God.
meditation. Share
could
the
sell
wealth
it.
meditation.
Yes. Oil pulling, tongue scraping. I don't do any of that, but I believe in it all.
Oh my gosh, I love that. You got to pick your battles.
You gotta pick your poison, pick your battle, whatever it's called. Like you just can't do it all. And I feel like there's been phases, like I just said, I used to do it. I don't do it anymore. Just focus on other stuff right now.
What about supplements?
Supplements at night? I do take 2 CBD gummies every night. They're from Equilife. I think they're the most natural, because these gummy vitamins, they can all have lots of stuff in them. These are pretty clean as far as gummy vitamins go. And they're CBD, and I take 2 every night. And I believe it helps me fall asleep faster. It definitely chills me out. If I end up taking them, a little bit further before bedtime, I do feel a little more relaxed. But that would be the only nighttime supplement. Our room is very dark. We've got the blackout curtains and blackout shades. And I think that is a problem for the waking up in the morning. Some days we have them a little cracked, especially weekdays. Complete silence. I usually fall asleep to a podcast. There's a few that I fall asleep to.
Do you think maybe that keeps you up?
I think so. I think that has to do with my latency.
Because you are so creative and an idea generator.
Yep. I do.
I'm
Thank you.
I'm diagnosing you. I thought to myself, I could never do that.
Go to sleep with the podcast?
No. Or even music. Like sometimes people are like, oh, listen to classical music. I'm like, I will start choreographing, ballet. Like
That makes sense.
I get excited when I hear anything.
I think
no sound.
the podcast listening to fall asleep is a bit of a crutch, and it's more of that revenge. Well, this is my time to get smarter and educate myself.
It's your me time. It feels like a much better option than scrolling or watching Netflix for you.
Yes, exactly. I won't fall asleep.
Yeah.
I won't fall asleep if I'm scrolling, and I won't fall asleep watching TV typically. So yeah, maybe that's something I should cut back on. There's like the Wall Street Journal podcast, The Journal. I think that's what it's called. And it's about 25 minutes daily of a current event topic. So that usually doesn't get my wheels turning too much. It's kind of like boring. But if it might spark too much thought for myself, I don't always choose it. Or again, it goes back to like what your partner's doing in bed at the same time. Like my husband's often listening to a lot of hunting podcasts or more male-focused topics, and that puts me to sleep. Maybe I'll just tune in to what he's doing. Sometimes
That's funny. To a lot of sports stuff.
Yeah, it's funny because one night I was putting on the podcast, and again, I realized recently that it takes me a while, more than average, to fall asleep. But my husband falls asleep in like, oh my gosh, it's a gift and impressive. He was like, you put your sleep timer on for the podcast, like 30 minutes. And I was like, yeah, he puts his on for 5. If I put it on for less, I'm still awake, and then I'm fumbling with my phone, extending the time. It's hard cohabitating.
When they were doing The Crown, and they have like the separate bedrooms, like royalty, it's like that kind of makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, people get it. I would say that kind of covers it.
What about alcohol? So I know you are very moderate in your drinking. Did you notice a difference when you drink, when you don't?
When I drink, I fall asleep faster, but I don't sleep as well, even for a long period of time. So the sleep is not as well. So yeah, I am very aware of that. And I know if I'm drinking that is the price I'm going to pay. Not that I'm going to be severely hungover always, but the sleep isn't as good.
Okay.
I will say it feels similar to the poor night's sleep for me. Probably because I'm not drinking as much. There's probably been one time over the past 6 months where I was very, very hungover. That's just a different beast. You're sick.
You're dehydrated.
Yeah.
Severely.
But like a glass of wine or two, I still find enjoyable despite the effect it has on me the next day in terms of just being groggy. I haven't done the experiment yet where I like look at my Aura Ring stats after a couple drinks. So I am interested to see accountability. You can't deny what
what the data says.
I will try to pay attention to that next time I have a few, since I am kind of building up this data with the ring and could look back at the history. So, yeah.
Well, that is just fascinating because I think that the routines are your anchors for everything that happens, habits versus willpower, and setting yourself up to do everything that you want to do, because sometimes you see people that have great ideas and intentions and they don't understand why it's not working, and myself included. It's because the routines are off.
Yep. And it's so much easier said than done.
Oh, yeah.
So I think we should make a pact here. I'm going to start meditating and you can start trying to move your bedtime earlier.
Yes. I'll move
Just a little bit
it to 11.
Yeah, like even if it's just consistency for a little while at
I
11.
know. I'm awful.
But I need to meditate. I know that, and I'm excited to challenge accepted.
That's great.
Yay! Good stuff.
We're doing it.